Hey, Bigpod.
What?
Just to let you know, I play this wonderful game called Magic the Gathering, right?
Yeah, I know.
So I play the standard format, which is at one point was like their one premier competitive format of choice. But it's a rotating format because the game's really old with lots of cards. So every now and then they have like a format rotation, just to keep like things fresh, so that, they can potentially sell new products.
So that certain releases aren't active, essentially, probably.
Well, it's so that card that was only printed like 20 years ago doesn't see modern day play, sort of like that. Makes it a little bit more. It makes things a little bit more accessible as well. Well, a rotation just happened, which means that this random pile of cards here that I call a deck needs to be rebuilt. So, obviously, I spent a bunch of money on cards.
Oh, great.
Cue the music. Hey guys, welcome to No Text Allowed. I'm your host Josh here, and today I'm wearing my beautiful white t-shirt like I normally do. And Bigpod, you're also in probably your most commonly worn t-shirt as well.
Green.
Yep, it works. Just to let you know, Bigpod, we're coming up on Ubuntu release day.
Yeah.
And we finally figured out what flavors have made the LTS release window.
Yep.
And we got our usual suspects of Xubuntu, which is the XFCE version, and Lubuntu, which is the LXQT, as well as like the special purpose ones like Ubuntu Studio and Edubuntu.
Yep.
And we've also got like the fresher, more upcoming startups like Ubuntu Budgie and Ubuntu Cinnamon, as well as the Chinese version of Ubuntu Kylin. But what we do not have is Ubuntu Mate and Ubuntu Unity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those two didn't even apply.
Yeah. So applying to LTS means applying to LTS certification, and Mate in Unity didn't apply for certification, which means that in theory they could still be released as non-LTS during an LTS release time, so 2604. But I don't know how well that will go. If they're automated releases, possibly, but non-automated. Both are fairly languishing without much maintainer input. But you know what? Before we go into what is happening with them, I'm missing one distro from this list. One flavor.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, what's my preferred version of Ubuntu these days? Kubuntu up to? Well,
yeah.
We don't actually know. But what we do know is that we can find like build images for 2604.
Yeah.
But we've seen no news from 2604 unless you got like some internal connections where you might be able to hear something. Yeah, but I know that you've worked with the Ubuntu Mate team, so maybe you know something that's going on over there.
Not much, to be honest.
Quite literally.
There is, how to say this? There is basically nothing happening.
Yeah. So we did a little bit of due diligence digging, and as far as we can tell, the Mate project is kind of at a stasis.
Yeah, Mate itself and also Ubuntu Mate.
Yeah, which now Martin Wimpress is like the big name behind Ubuntu Mate.
Yeah.
If you don't know who that is, he is a host for a few podcasts.
He was our guest many episodes ago.
Yep, he was a guest on the show many episodes ago, and he runs like the Wimpy's World YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And but if you watch like Wimpy's World, he's doing a lot of things that are not related to Ubuntu at all these days.
Yeah.
So interest has moved elsewhere, and if we look at like upstream on the Mate desktop, the Mate Wayland session hasn't seen anything happen to it for at least half a year now.
About half a year, yeah, five
Yeah,
months minimum, and even that, I don't know if it was that large of a commit.
yeah. That said, we can only really check with like publicly available Git repositories. So maybe there's a guy working on some internal branch somewhere, and he's been working really hard at it.
Yeah.
So who knows? But let's talk about Ubuntu Unity because that one's a bit more of a special case, right? So Ubuntu Unity, the development for that was basically led by a kid named Rudra.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a kid anymore, but when he started it, he was a kid.
Yep.
Now, obviously, with him being young, he's got to go through like school and focus on education, which
And
that's kind of important.
yeah, and now he's getting to the age of higher education, as far as I know. So
Yeah, so it
that's
makes
probably taking more time than schooling is taking more time than ever before.
yeah. That said, we're going to link the OMG Ubuntu news article on like this announcement, and the OMG Ubuntu does have a citation for a claim of new contributors want to take over,
Yeah,
but
there are
it's
apparently
self-references.
at least two contributors that wanna take over of the project, but
Yeah, but we see like no announcement or anything like
yeah,
this because they cite themselves
yeah,
in like the same article. So that kind of citation, which absolutely amazing.
circular citation.
Yeah. Amazing content there, OMG Ubuntu, or Joe Schneddon. So, but anyways, for like the non-technical audience here, Bigpod, what exactly are we talking about when we're talking about LTS?
So LTS, or long-term support, is actually basically a designation for a specific release of distro that has a longer support cycle than the other three releases within the two year cycle. So instead of having, I believe it is like a 9 month, or am I thinking of Fedora?
I think Fedora is
Think it,
9 months.
yeah, I think this one is a bit longer. This one is a year and a half. I could be wrong. It has like, I believe, up to like 15-year now support cycle,
Something like that.
which, so this is especially useful for your corporate desktops, corporate workstations, and more likely your corporate servers, where you want that a long lead time of running, or you may have wanted. Let's be honest. These days, that is not as needed anymore with advent of containers and the principles of servers being cattle, not pet. It is less necessary, but still, companies like to have that in the back pocket, that they can run that server install for 5-10 years without having to actually upgrade to the newer release.
Yeah,
And that
for
means
record,
security,
for
and for some time even updates, but mostly it means security updates for all entire main repository.
yeah, so for like a real world example, there are still servers out there running like very old versions of Ubuntu. Like the oldest ones that are really willing to admit are still running like 1404, which
Yeah.
released 11 years ago. Uh, and that's Ubuntu's pre-system D days, I believe.
Yeah, I believe
So
that still ran Upstart, and it was still Unity.
yeah, it's still Unity desktop, but like we're on a server here, so not that many people are
Probably, yeah.
probably are actually running that Unity desktop.
Yeah.
But the big thing with that is that there is a real tax on taking that system and just updating it to a newer version of Ubuntu. In fact, I believe like the most common solution was that even though yes, there are ways to upgrade from 1404 to 1604, it's better just to do like a complete blanket reinstall.
Yeah.
The issue with that is now you have to convince like the system administrator who might have just inherited this server to hope and pray that there's good enough documentation for them to get all their stuff back up and working.
Yeah.
And
As
post
I
migration.
said, in 2014, there wasn't yet such a spread of Docker or Kubernetes and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's not anymore just couple of commands and run. It's actually installing deps, installing binaries, and that horrible mess that was pre-Docker server administration.
Yeah, that said, there is still some value for not using Docker, like for like a special purpose system where it only does the one thing anyway. Maybe you can get away without using the Docker.
Yeah,
but
still.
But still, there's a reason why Docker exists nowadays.
Yeah.
And I can understand why companies maybe just haven't made the switch from a native system to a containerized system.
Yeah.
But it clears up so many headaches when things just run out of containers.
Yeah.
But
one big problem with not doing containers is if it's not a package in, let's say, as dep package, the big question comes: did I lay the files appropriately on the file system? Did I do this right? Did I do this right? When with container, all you have to do is trust the developer knows what they're doing, and just run the software.
Yeah, or you can just write the container file yourself.
Yeah.
Which then it's self-documenting on how everything's configured. You just check your own container file. That said, if you're working for one of these companies and you're running a very old version of the operating system, I am curious if you're at least willing to tell us why you haven't migrated to a newer version. Because honestly, at some point, you're going to have to. And it's most likely going to be for compliance reasons rather than, practical reasons. But in the meantime...
In part might be because they just don't want a downtime.
That's possible as well. So, in the meantime, since we mentioned Docker, we have to talk about Docker news because, Docker somehow made news again. But this time it's not really Docker's fault. It rarely ever is Docker's fault. But the cybersecurity firm, let's see.
Security research at threat intelligence company Flare did a scan of about 10,000 images uploaded to Docker Hub in November. So Docker Hub is a registry for Docker images. So essentially a remote repository. And what they find is that they scanned more than just 10,000, but in 10,000 of them, a bit more than 10,000 of them, they found at least one or more keys exposed to, so you can see them, use them however you want. The most frequent ones were for various AI models and AI runners. So here we have, for example, API, OpenAI, Hugging Face, Anthropic, Gemini, and Grok. By that I mean Grok with a Q, not with a K. So in total, they found about 4,000 such keys. I guess there were many duplicates because maybe
the fork button exists on GitHub. That's why.
Yeah, and because somebody may have like uploaded multiple images with the same key.
Yeah. So in the event,
I guess they didn't count duplicates.
Yeah, so in the event that you didn't already come to this assumption, the reason why so many images are found like this, and you heard me reference like the fork button, is because a lot of Docker images that are uploaded to Docker Hub, like probably the majority of them, are really just third-party packages.
Actually, I
Or
would
third-party developed containers.
no. I think a lot of these are homebrewed containers of probably third-party programs,
Yeah,
but they just build them locally and forget to do proper cleanup and use .docker ignore file. But Josh, interestingly, that 42% of scanned images, researchers discovered that they have at least 5 sensitive values.
yeah. So it sounds to me like an exposed environment file.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Probably. Josh, have you ever exposed such values, whether it be with a Git repo, Docker Hub, on Docker Hub, or something similar?
I have accidentally included, my remote backup password in my dot file configuration before.
And have you done that? Push that onto public GitHub repo?
Yes, if you go to gitlab.com/10lej/dot files and you look in my .config/borgmatic configuration, you can see where at one point in the repository a passwords.txt file exists. It no longer exists, for one thing, and if you do index that file from the Git history, the credentials in that file are no longer valid.
Okay,
but
good.
It's very easy to accidentally push that kind of file.
Yeah.
Very easy.
I pushed some API keys in my past as well.
Yep.
But thankfully, there were whoever those API keys were. I'm not gonna say who or what. They were scanning scanning all of GitHub for such API keys, and I got about 15 emails within a minute of pushing it.
Because legacy, or I tend to call them like lazy drive-through bug bounty hunters, where they just run like a scan across all of GitHub. They come up with a bounty. They come up with a list of names. They shoot out a bunch of emails and expect maybe some compensation or
no, in this case it was
actually
the company that whose API key I was using. So, or for what it was the API key. They sent me an email to all of my registered emails on GitHub. They sent me their own support ticket or two. They created issues. I believe, I think it was like 10 or 15 emails of different locations that came because of how many ways they try to contact you.
Right, because they're going to blast you on all the available methods because that stuff is not supposed to be there.
And I believe they actually sent a direct email as well.
Yeah. That said, one thing that's super interesting here is that more than 10 finance and banking companies were also found in this scan.
Oh, great! So
yeah.
this gives me very very Shadow IT vibes.
Yeah. So of course that's exactly what we're referencing here. People just using Docker for like development, but they don't want to publish to like say. Or like the only remote repository that they're aware of that exists for Docker is Docker Hub. So they just push to that one, and there's your image.
Or
that's it.
Or one other thing is that those were custom images that were custom made for Shadow IT, and they just needed to store them somewhere that is not internal registry. So what they're gonna use? Docker Hub, and Docker Hub has free hosting for public images.
Yeah, and that's the main reason why they do, because it's free.
Yeah.
If Docker was like a paid service for one thing, people probably wouldn't really use it as ubiquitously as they do. But they would obviously see like less stuff than this before. But we had that debate. I think it was 2 years ago about Docker attempting to monetize the Docker Hub. It did not go well.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago, I went to Ohio Linux Fest. It was unlike previous years of Ohio Linux Fest. It was only a 1-day event, and honestly, it kind of made me sad because I had way too much fun there, and I was ready to commit a full weekend to Ohio Linux Fest. But I did mention with a couple of the organizers there ways that they can help get people in the door, because a lot of the people that I spoke with prior to going to the event wanted to go to the event, but they mentioned a couple of things about like maybe it would be great if they mentioned like the event date a little bit sooner. But while I was there, I did get talking to quite a few people, and I admittedly made the mistake of not recording interviews with even half the people I spoke to. But I did record a couple interviews that people might find interesting. So the first one that I spoke to was a group that called themselves the High Technology Cyber Investigation Association, which I never heard of before, and I got to talking a little bit. So we are going to be playing the recording that I made of this. Bear in mind, we're dealing with this in a public event, so you might hear a bunch of background noise. So sorry, it's not super clean audio. Editor did what he could. Hey guys, it's Josh coming over to you live from Ohio Linux Fest. I've actually just got here. I showed up late for the keynote, but I saw a booth here from the High Tech Cyber Investigation Association, specifically the Ohio chapter, because after all, we're in Ohio. But I got to talk with these guys. I got a little bit curious as to what they're doing around here. So I brought my friend here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Brad Barkhurst. I'm the president of the Ohio chapter of the High Tech Cyber Investigations Association. We are a non-profit association that's been around since 1986. We are composed of the educational sector, private sector, and law enforcement sector. And we come together at different events throughout the year, online and in person, to discuss about the latest cyber investigation trends. We have chapters all throughout the U.S. and Canada, and if you become a member, not only do you get to access the Ohio chapter events, but chapters all across the U.S. and Canada.
Okay. So now I did speak with you just a little bit, but you work more as like a networking association as well that aids in like basically like various investigators, regardless of what agency that they're investigating from. So like your typical law enforcement, maybe private investigators as well, to some extent, both local, state, and federally. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it's not just like law enforcement investigators, but it's also like network security people that might have to investigate something within their network. It's really, and it's also educational sector, so that could be students as well as instructors in the educational sector. So our student membership is only $35 for full-time college and university students. And what we do, we like to help them for networking, because we all know after you graduate from college, university, it's people like your resume, but you don't have the experience. Joining an association like HTCIA gives you that networking opportunity. So when you get out of college, you already know some people in the field that can potentially help you get that job. So that's one of the benefits of our association, the networking aspect as well.
Okay, so every now and then, because we're more or less like a news person, and it's really just me and a co-host, and we actually just we don't necessarily like cover news like news, but it's just the two of us talking, and every now and then we do have to talk about like security vulnerabilities. Like there was many months ago, there was like a massive VPN security that apparently the only operating system that wasn't vulnerable was Android, because Android didn't support like some I forget the details behind it. But oftentimes, I find myself lacking in like the conversation because, heaven forbid, I grew up in farms, so I'm not like super aware of like security like many other people, and as like a small business owner as myself, I've oftentimes had to deal with like that person just randomly sending me an email saying that, hey, I found like this security vulnerability in your business. I can fix it if you pay me this amount of money. So my question is, when I get that kind of response, do you guys like offer a service or anything like that that I can communicate with as well to potentially go like, hey, is this actually valid?
Well, we don't actually offer a service for something like that. However, people in our association specialize in that. Matter of fact, one of our members, Art Bowker, he wrote a book on what to do if you or someone you know gets hacked. So a book dedicated to that specific topic. So we definitely have members that are from a network security background, but also digital forensics background. So it's a lot of different people that's part of the association.
Okay, so and then let's take it from another approach here. My co-host, he's actually a guy that's more or less what he does is like third-party contracting. He's in Europe right now, Slovenia, and he works as a contractor. And oftentimes it's actually his job to make sure that companies are running are actually guaranteed to be secure. Now, if say somebody's wanting to get into that field, what would be like your top level like recommendations on how to get into that field?
In digital security in general? Well, it really comes down to having that training, which HTCIA provides training. The Ohio chapter, for example, we have a 2.5-day conference every May at Salt Fork State Lodge. Next year will be our 25th anniversary of hosting this conference, but also it's the networking opportunity, the people that you know that can help you provide insights on how to get that job that you want and potentially hire you in the future. So it's a lot about who you know as much as what you've been trained in and the certifications that you have.
Okay, now I do see that every now and then you guys also run events as well that you can meet up in person, or you mentioned that there's a Zoom call that people can join in too. So because I serve a more global audience rather than just local to Ohio, I'm going to have some links to some of that information in the description as well. But you guys have an event going on December 17th, is that correct?
Yes, sir. So we're the Ohio chapter. We have 4 in-person events throughout the year, but the months where we don't have the in-person events, we do what's called a lunch and learn, which is on Zoom that you can attend online. They're typically on Wednesdays from noon to 1. We've got 2 events opened, so people can check out HTCIA to see if it's a great fit for them. The first event is on December 17th from noon to 1 p.m. It's a presentation that I'm actually presenting on called An AI Framework and a Deepfake Deep Dive. So I talk about basically an overview of AI and then also how deepfakes are made and some of the detection tools on the forensic level that can help detect deepfakes. We have another presentation online on January 14th called Internships Leading to Full-Time High-Tech Jobs in Ohio. This is not just for people in Ohio. This is open to anybody that would like to get a high-tech job. But there's a nonprofit group based in Ohio called Sochi, and they're going to talk about it's aimed towards university and college students on how they can get internships that will potentially lead to high-tech jobs after they graduate. So That is going to be on January 14th from noon to 1. You can go to htcia.org on the events page, look up those events and sign up for those. If you're a non-member, you can sign up for those still. We'll let you in on those just to see what our presentations are like. And really, whether you're a student or whether you're a professional, we're out there to help provide training and also help people get jobs in the field. So.
Okay, and just for clarification, those times are in Ohio times, the U.S. Eastern Time Zone.
Yes, sir. The presentations are on Eastern for our chapter, the Ohio chapter.
Of course. Well, thank you for your time. I'm going to go see who else I can talk to here.
All right. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this interview. So now we're gonna go into our next topic, which is Google sets up MCP servers for their Google Cloud services. So Josh, what is going on here?
Okay, so in the event you don't know what MCP is, because I kind of didn't before this, but now I actually know what it is because I Googled it. It's MCP stands for the Model Context Protocol, and of course, this is AI. So yes, we are a tech sort of news discussion podcast, so we have to talk about AI sometimes. I actively do try to avoid talking about it when I can, but dystopia be dystopia, we have to deal with this. So Google has launched MCP-enabled servers that gives AI models access towards stuff like the Google Calendar, as well as a few other services. But obviously there are API limitations for this as well, and it's all limited behind Google's AIM service. So you got that much. But Bigpod, can you explain what MCP actually is or does?
So, for all of you who are at least a little bit know programming or know development and know websites, know that one of the things that happens is called an API, Application Programming Interface. You will know that that's like basically a way for a program to communicate with another program remotely. For example, if you're in the world of websites, that would mean, let's say, for example, essentially curling the backend and getting back, I don't know, JSON. But that isn't a very clean thing to do for your AI. You need something that is a bit more AI centric, which is why Anthropic, the creators of Claude, created this standard called Model Context Protocol. Essentially, it's a protocol for AI models to talk to different services. So on their website, they give an example of USB-C port, which I find insane when you could just use API as an example, because it's literally an API for AI.
Yeah, but they want to like communicate like that physical connection. That way, the non-programmers can also understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Because we can't just say API.
Yeah.
Which developers would understand perfectly. But they got to explain this to like the normal people as well, because USB-C does probably way too many things for a single little tiny plug. But it is pretty amazing what it can do.
So they say that just as USB-C provides a standardized way to connect electronic devices, MCP provides a standardized way to connect AI applications to external systems. For example, in the world of Linux, there apparently is an effort to make systemd MCPD or something like that, which will give you ability to tell your chat to, I don't know, start a service, check the status of a service, analyze logs of the service, and tell you what is wrong and stuff like that.
Now there are benefits to this.
Yeah.
Because it is AI dystopia, But this is AI dystopia in a sort of good way, because the big thing that this enables is that this is not limited to just Claude.
No.
In fact, this API code here can also be accessed by Gemini, or ChatGPT, or Olama. It's a standardized set of protocols, much like how the internet standards are, where websites should presumably load the same across every single web browser that you use. That's true and that's not true, but that's the general idea of it. But it's just a cleaner way, and it really does help, like make it so that we can use any AI LLM agent that we want, rather than have to deal with the Gemini, because Gemini only has access to like this thing.
Yeah.
So that's naturally a good thing. Now what Google is doing here specifically is that it's just the Maps API as well as their BigQuery service.
So
now,
Maps, BigQuery, Compute Engine, and Kubernetes Engine. So
yeah, so
Maps
none
is
of
their
this
standard offering of Maps. BigQuery, Compute Engine, and Kubernetes are their GCP offering. BigQuery is their I believe columnar database. I could be wrong. They're basically large scale database that is highly scalable. Compute Engine is essentially VMs. So if you're no AWS, that would be EC2 equivalent, or on Linode you have Linode, I believe they're called, or what they're called. They're offering for VMs.
They just call it Linode, I believe.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they are
the
called
service is not
Linodes.
called the company is not called Linode anymore. That's the AI compute cloud infrastructure or whatever. But I believe that they still call the VM service Linode.
Yeah.
Or the VM Linode or something like that.
It's called Akamai Compute.
Yeah, the Akamai Connected Cloud.
Yeah.
Compute service.
And the third one that Google, or fourth one that Google has done, is their Kubernetes engine, which is essentially their managed Kubernetes. So instead of you having to manage the nodes, updates, all that, like the infrastructure side of Kubernetes, you just you create a cluster with Kubernetes engine, and all of that is then taken care of by GCP instead of you.
Yeah, so like big picture endpoint here, we could just tell, like ChatGPT to restart the Tuxbase server, and just restarts the Tuxbase server.
For example,
sort of.
What you could do is tell it to restart this cluster, or something like that. In the same case,
now
with Compute Engine, restart this VM.
Now, what does this mean for us end consumers? But the big thing that this implies in like the case of Google Maps having being enabled for this is that you get like actual up-to-date location information for like playing your directions on Google Maps.
Yeah,
you can actually get like you have access to like the live traffic data and everything there too. So
or for example, what is at this location, if there are I don't know, businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's also what appears on Google Maps, and it's part of Google Maps suite of data.
Yeah, because you got to remember, these AI agents are trained on a snapshot of the internet.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like up to date. It can be fairly modern, yes, but you got to remember when ChatGPT released, it only had access to data up to like 2022 or something like that. So, we've got to keep that in mind. Now,
you're probably thinking, MCP. Why are we just talking about MCP now? MCP has been out a long time. Well, while MCP has been open, it has been in the hands of Anthropic up until now.
That's
now,
true.
It's gone into the hands of a new group called Agentic AI Foundation,
which is operated by the Linux Foundation.
Exactly. So now Linux Foundation has the standard in their hands, which means while it was already used by most of AI agent type servers. Now it's actually in hands of something that isn't
It's
a competitor to everybody else who does
Yeah.
LLMs.
Yeah, so it's a bit more open to like the community. Lighted. How open
And
the Linux
has
Foundation is to the general community, we don't know, but it's definitely open to the enterprise community. So
And has no like no no how to say this, has no care whether for example Claude has more capability to do with
Yeah.
MCP compared to, let's say, Gemini, which would
Yeah,
be something Anthropic would want.
Yeah, so by putting MCP into the hands of the Linux Foundation, they're also like separating they're separating themselves further from it legally, so that way the MCP development isn't like incentivized to only support the specific agent.
Yeah.
That said, depending on how popular a specific agent gets, it might have some influence over MCP.
Yeah.
But that just could be just purely from breadth of market share, which honestly, as far as we've been able to tell from like reports, people just use different AI models separately.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even notice that they're using separate AI models, so there is no like overly dominating single agent. But if you're wanting to get off of AI and decentralize entirely, while I was at Ohio Linux Fest, I stopped by the Meshtastic booth, where Meshtastic is a product that I've heard of, but I've never actually met anybody that used it until a guy started doing fancy stuff with radios, and he got talking to me about it. Plays interview here. He was a bit awkward. I don't think he went to Ohio Linux Fest expecting to get interviewed for a podcast. Let me open up the notes here real quick because this guy is Bits and Bytes on YouTube. That's right. Okay. So stepping back from that, what do you know about Meshtastic, by the way, Bigpod?
Nothing.
Oh, it's a wireless protocol that's completely free and open source. That operates on the 900 megahertz band. So it's not 2.4 gigahertz or anything, but it's a completely open standard. Now, it's used primarily with like the one thing that we talk about is like weather balloons. But it works perfectly fine for like sending like text packets and everything because it's not super performant because you got to remember it's 900 megahertz. You're not going to be able to like stream video over it, but you can send text messages back and forth, or low bitrate audio.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Returning. Hey guys, it's Josh coming in yet again from Ohio Linux Fest, and today I stopped at this sign here that says Meshtastic, and with the display of a couple radios here, and I figured I just wanted to talk a little bit here about this project. So, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Charlie. I'm here in Central Ohio, and I run Bits and Bytes and a number of other various startup collection projects. And I learned about Meshtastic a few months ago over the summer. I believe Amazon had a deal, 2 radios for $40, something like that. And I had some familiarity with it before. I thought it would be fun to get into it, so that's actually where these 2 radios first came from.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Meshtastic it's a wireless networking protocol,
Yep.
And it runs over a fairly low frequency. Obviously, it's because it's running that lower frequency. It's the bandwidths are running wide and a little bit slower, so you're not going to get like extremely fast data transfer rates. But what are the advantages of using a wireless protocol like Meshtastic Meshtastic for like networking purposes over like say standard 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi or anything like that?
So from a data perspective, it is not a very good option simply because of the bandwidth. With 2.4 gig, 5 gig, whatever we're up to now, I've lost track, we've got gigabit speeds. With Meshtastic, it operates on the 900 megahertz frequency, and because it's designed for low power and long range, it maxes out at pretty much 21 kilobits per second. Usually it's going to be closer to 1 kilobit for the default long, fast mode operation. That's just the name of it. It's designed for distance and not for speed.
Okay, and we're not talking about like distance like a couple 100 feet, right?
Yeah, more like a couple kilometers. A couple just basic radios on your person at ground level, you're going to be looking at a kilometer, maybe a little more if you have good line of sight. If you can get one of the radios higher off the ground, let's say on a building, in a tree, on a tower, we have seen distances up to about 50 to 60 kilometers.
Okay, that's impressive. So, obviously, this is a networking protocol, and it can exchange data. So, what are some of the coolest projects that you've seen, like the Meshtastic actually run here? Because you're pretty involved in the community. I'm certain that you've seen some really cool things.
I haven't seen too much. So, the Meshtastic community in Central Ohio is still very new. The Meshtastic community in Western PA, they have actually a lot more members. And if you're going to be talking about interesting projects, one of the individuals over there, they have somehow a connection with weather balloons. Like legitimate NOAA weather balloons. I don't know how, but okay. So, for fun, every now and then, he will take a Meshtastic radio with a battery, just little basic stuff, strap it to a weather balloon, and let it go to thousands of feet in the air. And Pittsburgh is a 3-hour car drive, 200 miles, 150 miles, something like that.
Something like that from here, yeah.
Quite a ways. Well, yeah, I was able to see and communicate with his radio clear from that distance.
All right, and I'm certain that there's a lot you can do with, just having an antenna somewhere that high attached to a weather balloon. Heaven forbid, the kind of sensors you could probably plug into that. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get anything like a live video feed. Right. 21 kilobits per second over that kind of range, probably not feasible, but like 1 kilobits per second, reasonable. So you might be able to get some really low bitrate audio, but that's not the kind of data that you're transferring. We're talking about like more like text files, or just like text data streams or anything like that. So in the advantage of having something like in like a weather balloon, that you can, well, first of all, it's a weather balloon, so you can actually just check the humidity in the air, which means that maybe you can predict or build up a weather model to be able to say predict the rain. Now, but if somebody wants to get involved in like one of these Meshtastic communities, is there like a fantastic resource where they can use to actually just get started with this?
The meshtastic.org website has resources in general about what hardware is available, what communities you can join. Then if you're in Central Ohio, there's the Central Ohio Mesh. And Western Pennsylvania has the WPA Mesh. Yeah, WPA Mesh. A Western Pennsylvania Mesh.
I mean, that's what it says on the sign here, at least.
Yep.
All right, so you're with Bits and Bytes. What does Bits and Bytes do with Meshtastic?
For right now, we're just experimenting around with it, seeing what all it can do, just having fun with the technology. One really fun thing I've seen is attaching environmental sensors for temperature, humidity, and pressure, and just having it kind of be as your own little personal weather station.
Okay. Well, I'll toss a couple links in with this into the show notes after I take a moment to collect them, because heaven forbid I don't see any business cards here that I can pull out. I mean, he might have one. He has a whole box full of tricks here and cool gadgets, and we were talking about our my own DIY weather system that I kind of sort of set up. It's not really like a weather system, but it's more of just like a tracking system. So that's what I've got for now. So we'll see what we got later. So in the event that you're curious as to that individual that I was interviewing right there, he runs the Bits and Bytes YouTube channel, which is a pretty interesting channel. He does a lot of technology stuff individually, and you know, he has a couple videos on, you know, like hacking PlayStation 4s, not necessarily for gaming, but, you know, for tossing alternative operating systems onto it. So if you're into that kind of thing, go ahead and go over there and give him a subscribe. Maybe watch a couple videos. But, you know, he was an interesting person to talk to. But Bigpod,
What?
I think it's time for us to tell our audience how they can contact us, right? It's probably appropriate. I assume that, you know, they want to send us an email to contact@tuxbase.com. Tell us what their personal favorite web browser is, whether it be Firefox, Google Chrome, or whatever. It doesn't have to be the one you currently use, it just has to be your favorite. So if you want to tell me that you use Emacs as your web browser, go right ahead. That said, if you would like to flex your amazing configuration for your web browser and share it with, you know, the general community, go to tuxbase.com/discord to join our official Discord server where you can chat with everybody, including us. And if you would like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/notuxallowed. Drop us a couple dollars right there. You'll get a premium audio feed at a higher bitrate, and, you know, some extra bonus content. But Bigpod, we do run our own YouTube channels.
Yeah.
I'm back in like a video creation mood, so I might actually be releasing videos for the first time in, I think, almost 2 years now. Something like that.
I did a stream at start of the year.
Yeah, you
start of
did.
the month.
You did. Speaking of streams, we have just over 2 weeks now where we're going to be recording a live episode of the show. It'll be at 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, which, Bigpod, is about the time that we actually start recording.
Normally.
About that time of day. Yep.
Yeah.
About that time of day. I am going to be scheduling the stream on YouTube, so, you know, anybody that's not in the U.S. Eastern Time Zone can, you know, have YouTube tell them how long until the stream starts.
Yeah.
But we're also going to be restreaming it towards Twitch as well. We'll have a link for that provided eventually. Probably in next week's episode. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. But we would like to see you there, because if you're an audience member, you might be able to just hop in the show and join us. We'll probably have like an actual live chat room where, you know, we can all just run the show together. And, you know, we can all just discuss wonderful and glorious things. Because heaven forbid, we're hitting the holiday season, and right around Christmas time, the tech news is probably going to come to a crawl. Because, you know, everybody is celebrating the holidays. But in the meantime, I hope that you listen to some wonderful Christmas music, Bigpod, because, you know, I've been in a mood lately to listen to Christmas music, and I don't know why. It's been a while since I've actually really listened to any. I'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye.